taking control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. The little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. We the people have taken over. We the people are little brother, standing by to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon, desensitized in our lust for attention, democratized by our voyeur obsessions, watching you and watching me. Slaves to perfection, don't let them project you as you are. Reveal your every flaw. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Let your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Superman, that we're the only ones who can be strong, but we break on command, 'cause women rule the world.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Said the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us as we kick off a new week. If you are listening live on spacedoutradio.com, on Spreaker, or Revolution Radio, thank you so much for taking the time. We welcome you to tonight's show as we broadcast out of Uncle Jimbo's cabin here in the Great White North, live on this Monday night, early Tuesday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we are busy. We do this thing 3 hours a night, 7 days a week, all because we want to be your one-stop shop when it comes to the supernatural, paranormal, conspiratorial, and so much more. If you like our music on our intro, that comes from the guitar god himself, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, formerly of Guns N' Roses. Bumblefoot is the official music of the mighty SOR. You can follow us on Twitter @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Find us on TuneIn. Download our shows now on iTunes. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. At this time, we say, hi, how are you? What's everyone doing on this Monday night as we bring in everyone from the Revolution Radio chat room on the High Plains Talk Radio Network, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, along with our fans at Facebook on Euphoria Chronicles, Chronicles of the Unknown, Forest Moon Paranormal, and our flagship chat room that's already a packed house, the SOR Space Travelers. If you haven't signed up for the SOR Space Travelers Club, guess what? It's time. It costs only $5 a month, and with that, your name gets entered in a monthly prize draws, access to private group interviews, access to a special section on our website, and so much more. Hey, we're going to give you a hell of a lot more than just access to our archives. While at spacedoutradio.com, you can also read our latest blogs. Mine is on the paranormal. And, of course, Eric Markham's SOR Spacewire. The Preacher has the latest in weird news every single day. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rivulet Reichian Readings, providing healings in person or at a distance. PurplePlates.com, helping heal your body, mind, and soul. The New Agora newspaper is the official paper of this show. The iTunes app, Spirit Story Box, the official ghost hunting app of SOR. And, of course, if you are a listener on Revolution Radio, do us a favor. Go to freedomslips.com. Check it out and donate today. It is the largest nonprofit radio station online going right now. Revolution Radio needs your assistance. The state of Montana may seem like a quiet place, but when it comes to its hauntings, Montana is anything but silent. That's what happens when you have more ghost towns than most U.S. states and a big battlefield like Little Bighorn. In other words, the ghosts are everywhere, and they are active to tell their story. Heading up some of these paranormal investigations is Elies Adams from Bozeman Paranormal. She has a keen interest in ghosts and the hidden stories of her state for well over a decade. From the battlefields to the door of the wild, wild west, Elies will tell us just how haunted this northern region of the U.S. truly is. We bring in Elies Adams from Bozeman Paranormal. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah. But yeah, I'm the founder of Bozeman Paranormal. Been a group for 4 years now. And we're a pretty big group. We're also nonprofit, so we work out with historical groups also, because we like going and doing historical research. So, and we also like going ghost hunting. So,
well, it is a fun opportunity to do that. And, you know, it's one of those things where I've only ever been on a couple of ghost adventures, and that's around my area. And I'll tell you, some of these spirits, they want to tell their story. They want to be known. They want to know what's going on, why they're still here. Maybe they just want peace. They all seem to have their own individual attitude and their own individual story. That has to be quite interesting as you delve into this, especially on the historic side.
Yeah, definitely. And to me, I feel like they are part of history. So if you go to Little Bighorn, which is, we've been there twice, and it's a different feeling when you go to a battlefield altogether, compared to going into an abandoned building. But to me, I think the spirits that are even stuck in a battlefield just tell the story of the history of that place. So, and that's part of, for us, that's research for us, because we're historical, we're historians in a way. So we like to hear what the spirits have to say in the form of, history. So, because they were there. So that's how I see it, at least. So,
it's nice to hear you guys investigate the history of the state, because up here, really good friends of mine, they're part of a team called Chronicles of the Unknown, and they come on this show the third Monday of every month. So a week tonight is when they appear again. And they've actually been doing a television pilot here in British Columbia in regards to letting the ghost tell the story of the gold rush of the 1800s. So they have been literally starting in the mountains and building their way up and zigzagging across the province way up north here. They have actually been going to haunted sites and museums and everything to try and get the ghosts to tell the stories of the history of what brought them there. So it's been quite interesting, to say the least. And to hear that you're doing exactly the same thing in Montana, and trying to tell the history through the paranormal, I think that is just a fantastic idea.
I do too, because it's just, I feel like, they are part of the history. So, and to me, some of them, they really just want to be passed on. And that's part of what we do as well, as we help spirits pass on. But at the same time, we want to hear what they have to say as well. So, and, Little Bighorn's one of our top, we always go there a lot during the summer. So this last time we went around when the reenactment was happening. So, and that definitely had a lot of activity. But my favorite ghost town is Bannock, and it is the first territorial capital of Montana before Virginia City. And, it was a big gold rush town. So, and that's one, I don't know, every time I go there, it's just, I feel at peace there. I don't know what it is, but to me, I feel like the town is still alive. Historically wise, when you walk down, I just feel like the spirits are just there still, as they're just there, they just living the life of still being in Bannock. So that's how, yeah.
We have a town like that north of me that I actually helped out at a paranormal tourism spot with the team from Chronicles I guess it's a couple months ago now. It's called Barkerville. And this place is right in the middle of nowhere. And it's kind of funny because it's right in the Gold Rush Trail, like right dead center of this. And it was funny because before I got there, the guys, when they were starting to set up all their paranormal gear for that night's tourist attraction, where we were going to take people out, to raise money for Barkerville's charity to keep the doors open, they actually saw a helicopter with a sonar swinging around underneath it, like dangling, because there is still so much activity for gold and gold claims going on up there that it was weird to see. Like, here we are in this historic ghost town where all the buildings are like 120 years old plus, and yet there's a helicopter flying over still looking for gold with a sonar. It was intriguing, to say the least.
Yeah, and there's tons of ghost towns still that have gold in, like, Montana. Like, recently we just came back from really, like, an investigation, and we also involve other, like, non-members to just come out and check out these places, because a lot of people don't know there are so many ghost towns in Montana that people still don't know about. So we decided to go up to Comet, and there's still people finding gold up there, and it's not actually owned by the the National Forest or like the Forest Service. People live there and they like own the land. So, but you could still go, like gold hunting and stuff. Like, even one of my members was just trying to take home like boulders of rock, and I'm like, you're not allowed to bring the boulders of rock home. But it's just, that's part of Montana. Like, most of the ghost towns still have gold, and it's Bannock. They make like a huge, because it is owned by the Forest Service, they make like, they let you go, gold panning. They'll like bring you to the gold panning places. So yeah, that's a big thing in Montana. So, but yeah, to me, that's also, a big part of, history is, is the gold panning thing. So, but yeah, I always like going to old ghost towns. It's always been a fascinating thing for me. Every about summertime, because winter here, it's hard to go to places. But, during like the summer, we always make like trips to ghost towns, and we invite people, that are interested in the history of the ghost towns, and we'll invite them to come on our trips with us. So, yeah.
Well, and it goes back further than that, because I believe, thinking of Alberta, which would be just north of you in the Canadian provinces here, they have Drumheller, and that whole area between Drumheller south into Montana was quite active for dinosaurs as well. So you must get all sorts of different types of activity there.
Yeah, we do, because we have, actually, Bozeman's pretty well known for Jack Horner that lives here. So, and he's the one that, he does like all the, dinosaur X's, looking for all the dinosaur stuff. And like, the Museum of the Rockies here, which is supposedly haunted, and I've been trying to get in there, but is where they do like when they find dinosaur bones, they'll go and bring them to the Museum of the Rockies and like clean them up, and then they'll display them at the Museum of the Rockies. So yeah, we have like a lot of activity compared, with the finding bones to, ghost towns. I just feel like one reason I love Montana. So, it's just a lot of activity all over the place.
Elise, why do you think there's so many ghost towns there? I'm going to assume, because I'll be honest with you, the last time I was in Montana was in Billings when I was 3 years old. So let's go back to 1977, 78 in that area. Okay, and I'm sure things have changed since then. But yeah, I look at Montana, and correct me if I'm wrong, much like here in British Columbia, where it's one of those places when you get to a certain area, the population just ceases to exist. And I know where I am here in British Columbia, the average size town isn't even 10,000 people. Okay? And, you know, like the town I live close by, it's 1,800. But if you include the vicinity of the area, say like 40, 50 kilometers or miles or however you want to put it, well, now we're up to like 22, 25,000. But is Montana much like that as well, where it's just, yes, you have the bigger markets, where the college towns and everything like that, but for the most part, the population is segregated compared to what is out there with the rest of the state?
Yeah, pretty much. It's not like you know, you have like Bozeman being like a university town, so there's like a lot more people that live here, and then you have like Billings, which is also now a fairly large city, and you know, then you have a bunch of small towns that surround like Bozeman and stuff, and it's just, you know, there's not that many. Honestly, there's not a lot of people that, you know, the population isn't as big as like, you know, going to like California, but that's, to me, go with the ghost towns. You know, I think it's because people were hoping that, you know, it was going to become big like California and stuff like that, when it didn't, and it just kind of lingered to being like small towns and kind of smallish cities. So, and just kind of stayed that way, which I don't mind, because I like small towns and small cities. So, just kind of like that, you know, like it's pretty much like British Columbia. So,
well, as long as you stay out of the Vancouver area, you're fine with that. Bill Hauser, one of our regular listeners, and he's been a guest on this show, he actually made a nice little comment here. He goes, in small towns, it's like going back in time. Is that what it's pretty much like in Montana these days? You know, I'm not saying that you guys aren't modern or anything like that, but let's face it, there's a lot of small towns out there that would prefer to keep things small, like maybe not have a franchise-type restaurant like McDonald's or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think so, because, you know, I haven't, you know, it's more probably going towards North Dakota and stuff like that, or going up to Glacier National Park and stuff. But, yeah, there are a lot of the small towns, you know, you'll drive through and they have, like, oh, that's a good example. Like, when we went to Boulder, they had a gas station, and that was about it. They didn't have a McDonald's or, you know, and stuff like that. So small towns definitely don't have, not all the small towns have like a big franchise. So they go a lot of places like around Montana like to go locally based, because they, you know, people like, they're trying to go out there to start, you know, their own business. So pretty much that's kind of how Montana runs. It's like mostly locally based stuff. So we definitely, every commercial you see on TV, it's like local. They're trying to promote the locals. So then that's kind of just how it is, unless you get into Bozeman or Billings, and then, yeah, or Missoula or Great Falls. So, but yeah, very much the local-based stuff is what people like around Montana.
Well, it's intriguing, you know, and everything you were saying reminds me so much of what is happening here in northern British Columbia, you know, where you go 20, 30 miles out of town and boom, you know, there's old rustic buildings and you look at them and you're like, yeah, that's haunted. Oh, because you know, you've been in the field long enough when you know there is something haunting in a building. You just know. Is it a lot like that?
Yeah, honestly, like, it's not like every ghost town's like that, but like Bannock, for example, like it just when you walk by like some of the buildings, you just know that there's something in there and it's drawing you to it. So, and you're all like, oh, something wants to speak to me in that building, kind of thing, you know. So, but not all the ghost towns, because I'm empath, so when we went to Comet, I just felt like it wasn't as active as I, was expecting it to be. But Bannock, I don't know what it is about Bannock. It just draws me to it. So I kind of see what you're saying is you'll see spooky, abandoned buildings. Some of them I get drawn to and say that it has that possible activity. Some places you just kind of go, oh, it's a ghost town, They said whatever was here is at peace now. So, but yeah, that's part of why I like to go to ghost towns.
Elies, what is the attitude of people in the state of Montana with all of these ghost towns regarding the paranormal? Is there a big belief of the paranormal there, or is it something much like everywhere else where, people just say, I don't believe in that crap, people are out there making up stories and it's all legend and folklore? What's the attitude?
Well, it kind of varies on, to me, I feel like it varies on territory, kind of like if you go up to Billings, which is kind of going towards more of the Native American Indian reservations, they believe more. Unfortunately, Bozeman isn't as open as I thought it was going to be when I started, and but it just varies. I think when you go into certain ghost towns and stuff, they definitely are open. You'll go if you go to certain parts of Montana, they're pretty more open. It's up to where you go, and it's just it's more, to me, I think it's just it's kind of to me, I think that's normal because some people are not sure, and some cities they've experienced it more, so then they're more open to it. And then other parts of Montana, I just feel like they haven't had that many experiences, so they're not sure. So that's just my theory on that. I'm not I'm hoping to get more investigations in Bozeman. So I've been working on that for quite some time. But I just feel like they're just not as open as other places because there's other paranormal groups in Montana, of course. And they just seem to, some places thrive more than others. So, but I'm always open to working with other groups if they invite me. But yeah, so.
Well, what is the attitude of the paranormal teams over there? Because what I am hearing out there and what I am seeing out there is that there is a lot of ego, a lot of people who are trying to pull one over on other groups or trying to make certain sites exclusive where they can only investigate it themselves. Is there a lot of attitude in the paranormal field in Montana, or do you try and work together?
I try to work with other, with my group, I try to work with other people. I haven't worked with a lot of I've worked with Livingston Supernatural because they're Livingston's 30 minutes from Bozeman. So it's kind of we're kind of in the same territory. So I try to invite them to things. And if I'm going into that area, I try to be nice and invite other paranormal groups if I'm going to be in their plate, and because I see you probably don't, the town the ghost hunting group probably doesn't get a lot of investigations. You don't know. So I thought, it's a nice thing to say, hey, we're going to do so-and-so. I haven't ran into a group that hasn't been super bad. I mean, they haven't, that they're oh, I don't want to work with you kind of thing. I feel like Montana's very open and friendly, and they're all willing to, learn from each other, which I always love because I feel like when you're using, you can learn another technique that you didn't know from another group that you wanted to use in your group, or they look at you and go and see your group does a couple of things that they want to use. And I feel like that's something that should be the word being more people should do it, is what I'm getting at. Like, more paranormal groups should learn to share each other's knowledge and stuff like that, and learn from each other. So, but yeah, I feel like Montana's we're very friendly in the paranormal. At least the groups are. But
well, that's good to hear. So when you see out of state, and I know you're online, you're on social media, and you see all these different groups, whether they're East Coast, West Coast, attacking each other for the way they investigate, for the way they use their equipment, for the way they maybe provoke, or maybe the way that they deal with clients. What do you think about all that? How does that affect what you do?
I don't really personally I don't provoke. I don't believe in provoking. I feel like also when you're going into somebody's home, for example, and they're asking for help. So, you're there to not get really honestly answers, and you're there to try to help them. And I don't feel like you should, charge them. So, because they're asking for help, especially, I'm a nonprofit, so, we're just asking for donations, but we never charge. But I just don't feel like people should be attacking other clients or other groups. We're all trying to get the same answer. So, honestly, we all should be working together and, listening to each other and working with each other, because I feel like, some of my members are looking for answers, and some of them are just, following what my theories are. And I feel like other paranormal groups should, work together and learn from each other, because we're all, at least to me, I think we're all looking for, the answer of, what is a ghost, or, what is the paranormal, and trying to get answers for that part. I mean, but that's just me, because I feel like, it's just rude to be like, oh, I'm going to charge the client this money. To me, if they're asking for help, and you just stop what you're doing, and you should be trying to help this client in any way possible, because that's our motto, is to make them feel safe in their home. So, but yeah, like, I don't like it when other paranormal groups attack each other, is what I'm getting at. So I just feel like they need to, feel like they just should get along in a way. And work together.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because on this show, we've been having a lot of conversation lately on the air regarding the way the paranormal field is going in regards to it. And there's a couple things that have really been on my mind lately, and I'm not going to get into the whole science of everything just yet. We'll save that one until my anger calms down, because I get real angry when that one comes on. For some reason, it just sets me off. It's like a trigger word. But one of the things that I think is very interesting is that you basically mentioned that there are different people with different theories in regards to why they are investigating. And I strongly believe that before you go into the field, that you should have some sort of question as to why you are doing this, rather than making this the ultimate game of Pokemon Go with a hell of a lot more expensive gear to use. What is your theory on that?
Well, to me, ever since I've been interested in the paranormal, I always feel like, I've been in the field to try to, find answers to, things I've seen. But I'm also, since I've been in the field, I always get, homeowners asking me, when I come in, what's going on in my home? And I'm kind of, especially if they have kids, if they're, super frightened, since we even started, I was like, people should feel like they should understand what's going on in their home, and that not all the things that are paranormal are scary. So I feel like we should be spreading awareness of the paranormal, because a lot of groups are just there to just find answers to all their things that they've experienced, but they don't understand that these people are asking us because they are frightened of what's going on in their building or their home, and it's scaring like customers or their kids. And I feel like we need to be like, also while we're getting the answers, also be make them feel safe. And, understand that not all of the paranormal things that we are encountering is scary. If you have a spirit in your home that doesn't want to leave and isn't aggressive, maybe you guys can make like a truce in a way and understand that spirit does not want to pass, and, understand it's not going to scare you, and it's not scary all the time. I mean, it could just be an old homeowner and that passed on and it just doesn't want to pass on. Or it could be, just somebody on the land, and it's really hard to get rid of something on the land. And it's just, I always felt like people need to understand, it's not always a scary thing to, experience. Yeah, negative spirits do need to be passed on, because they could be threatening and stuff like that. But I just feel like people should also feel safe in their home. So that's why, when we get passed on negative spirits, it could make them feel safe. Same within business. If we get asked to cleanse, because we do cleansings, asked to, pass on the spirits in the building, we know why. It's because they want to make sure that their staff and their customers want to feel safe. So that's that's what I think makes me more unique. Our group is more unique than a lot of other paranormal groups, because we're just trying to also, make people feel safe and understand. So, yeah.
Do you think too many people in the paranormal do not have a sense of direction of what they're supposed to be doing? For instance, when I look at the paranormal, I think of three things that I could actually look at to say, okay, this is the reason why we should be doing this. Number one, there are so many smart people doing great work in this field that if they ever got their heads out of their asses and decided to work together, we might be able to solve mankind's ultimate question, which is there life after death? Number two, like what you're doing, or what the Chronicles of the Unknown team is doing up here, you're able to tell history through a story, through the paranormal. Or number three, the spirits that are stuck here that maybe want to move on or have peace with people who are in their home or their place of business, that they have the ability to come to grips either in a working arrangement with each other or have the ability to move on to the next level, wherever that may be and whatever that may be. But when I see people, and I'll tell you, you remember when I talked to you right before you came on, I asked you one specific question: what do you do with your evidence? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think I do, yeah. So what do we do with our evidence? So
I don't need you to answer that. I'm just pointing it out that I asked you that question because most groups, Elies, if I ask that question, and I probably get contacted by 6, 7, 8 different paranormal groups every couple months. Hey, we want to come on the air, much like you did with us, and that's why I vetted you out and I liked you, and that's why you're here tonight. Not trying to sound like a jerk or anything, but you have to. But when you ask them, what do you do with your evidence? It's amazing how many people will say, well, we collect it for research. And then you ask the follow-up question, well, what do you do with what are you researching? And they have no clue. And that's where they throw out the word scientific. And it just irks me. What, in your opinion, and I know I took the long road here, but what, in your opinion, then, should be the purpose of paranormal investigation?
Well, to me, you're trying to catch something on camera or something that you can prove by the experience that you've had, but, while you're having, like, all of a sudden something shows up and you're like, you hope to catch it on camera. That's, what you want to catch as evidence. But what we do is, of course we collect and put it on, like I can tell you that this computer that's on right now has a lot of, stuff on it. But at the same time, I like to, share what I've caught. So, like, a lot of paranormal groups don't always do that all the time. And I like to, get what people's opinion. I don't even, when I post, like, sessions of, like, EVP, I won't even tell people, like, what it possibly says. I'll even just, like, say, what do you guys think? If you see anything, let me know. And to me, it's like I want people to be involved because I want people to believe what I have seen, and what I have heard, because to me, I feel like, we're trying to prove something. So you're trying to, like, get everyone to listen to what you have to say and what you've experienced. You can't just keep it, to just show, like, yeah, we have, like, some homeowners that sign confidentiality forms and stuff like that. But I am trying to get people to, listen to what we have to say, as a paranormal group. Yes, I'm trying to get, the historical aspect out of it, too. So, but, like, evidence, like, we've just been trying to, show people that, this is what we caught. And I always tell people, you're not going to catch something every time. I always, like, I've been in this field for, like, 4 years, and I always tell people there's, like, 1% chance that you're going to catch something. It's, like, a very slim, like, you're going to be coming into a room and talking to a wall for, like, 2 hours, and you hope that something will answer. But, at the same time, that's part of being a paranormal investigator, is you're just hoping to catch something, and, you want to share your evidence to try to catch, to show them what you caught. So, to me, I feel like everyone has their own way to doing, evidence and stuff, but I never post, like, oh, I heard, a name or something like that. Like, I never do that. I always see, because I feel like when you tell somebody a name, it's like, like, oh, I heard Fred. People are going to start to think that they hear it. So that's my thing, because that's why I'm all like, well, I'd rather see what other people hear, and that's part of my, when I'm doing going through evidence. So, and collecting it, and, until I just want people to, validate what their experiences are on evidence and stuff like that. So.
Take me through a scenario here. I come up to you and I say, hey, I have an interest in the paranormal. I watch all the TV shows. I want to join your group. I've never done it before. What do you say to me?
So one, I'll go up to when if somebody asks me about that, I have them fill out, well, we're nonprofit, so we have to have them fill out an application, then come to a meeting, and we have to vote you in, because the application says, like, what is gotten you involved? Have you even had any paranormal experiences? What tools and tricks, like, what can you, get, like, if you know how to use, like, editing stuff, like, what are you going to, provide for us other than, use, like, the ghost hunting shows or, stuff like that, like, stuff like, we go pretty in depth because we want reliable members and, and we want people to, that actually have a passion for the paranormal and, and stuff like that. So I'll be like, hey, here's an application. Here's the bylaws to go with the application. And here's when our next meeting is, if you can make it. And stuff like that. And then we'll vote them in at the meeting if they show up. And see what assets that they can provide and go from there. So
what would your opinion then? I'm going to put you on the spot here, okay? Only because I'm still on a rampage about the whole paranormal field right now. So,
yeah.
If I came up to you and you said, "Why do you want to do this?" And I said, "Well, I don't really care what I find or what I don't find or what I'm trying to find. I have no answers to what we want to do. I just want to play with some ghosts." What's your reaction?
Well, I would be like, well, at the moment, one, we can't even take any members, but I would be like, well, if you got, we always have we'll call it fan-based hunts. So I'd be like, hey, if you want to come to one of our fan-based hunts to see what we do, then, and, when we pass around equipment, to just, because, we do get people that are constantly wanting to, like, try out equipment because they've seen the ghost hunting shows, then, so you never get the people coming back to the fan-based investigations, but yeah, so then we always have something for even the person that says, I don't care, I just want to try equipment out. So, and to me, it's like, to us, if that guy had a great time at our fan-based investigation, the word spreads from next person to next person, and then you know it, you'll find somebody that wants an investigation, so that or needs help or has that passion for the paranormal. But we never, honestly may have that guy join the group because he doesn't have the assets that we need. So, and I am looking for Dane officers, because I'm all for officers right now. So, but yeah. So I always invite people that just because they've seen the ghost hunting show. Because after that, you never see them again. So, but yeah, always have something that they can be involved in, because I feel like people need to be in. It's like I said, I'm trying to spread the word about the paranormal and how it's not scary. So, and that's one form of way is when you get those people that say, I don't care, and, I just want to try out equipment, to me, because then they'll just talk about it after. They'll talk about that ghost hunt or something. So, yeah.
Let's talk about you for a couple of minutes here. What made you decide to get into the paranormal? Because this is a field that is very intriguing, yet very fickle, to say the least.
This is, I don't know if you've ever, heard about this. So my paranormal group came to me in a dream. So the name, something was talking to me, and the name it just told me Bozeman Paranormal came to me. The name came to me in a dream. And I've always been interested in the paranormal since I was a kid. And then, I've never really had an interest to really make a group, So 4 years ago I had a dream about Bozeman Paranormal, and the next day I was thinking about it. And I'm maybe I should. At this time of my life I had depression. So to me, it was something that just awakened me to make a group to get me out of depression. So it was kind of a push of the right direction kind of thing, because I being a leader, and I was always doing group things and stuff like that. And when I had the dream, it was I don't even know, it was a person standing there, and it was talking to me, and it told me something about ghost hunting, and it told me that your name, it even told me a name, and to call it Bozeman Paranormal. So ever since then, I was maybe I should, make a group. And at the time, it was an iffy group, because I was oh, I'll just see if any of my friends want to, start a group with me and go from there. And, yeah, so ever since, I was just to me, it was just a calling. I don't know what it is, because at the time, I can't even tell you. It was just the weirdest dream I've ever had, and ever since I was like, start a paranormal group. So, yep, and ever since I've had a group, and yeah. So,
what do you think, Elies, makes your group so much different than anything else that's out there, or for the majority of groups that are out there?
Really, I guess, this other than you just told me that the other groups do the historical thing, and we work with the historical group, like historians here, but also spreading the awareness of the paranormal is very unique. And I don't, I've talked to other paranormal groups in Montana, and they don't do that. So I feel like that's something different, is also just spreading the awareness of that it's not a scary thing all the time, and also making people feel safe in their home. Because I've never really experienced anything in the paranormal that's honestly super scary. And I feel like, it's something that we can live around and understand it more. So that's what I think makes me more unique than any other paranormal group, because I've never ran into another paranormal group that does the same thing as me. And other than, mediums, I guess, do that, and I'm real skeptic on that. I have, even being in the paranormal field, I am still a skeptic person. So, but yeah, that's what I think makes me unique, is having this, just feeling like it's something I should be. Yeah, I guess that's just how I feel. Like, that's why we're unique. So, yeah.
How many investigations do you think you guys do a year?
Oh, no, that's a good one. Probably like almost 30 plus a year. Probably a little bit more than that, because around Christmas time we get a lot of homeowners. So up to 50. Yeah, I'm always every weekend there's something going on. So, yeah, we do a lot.
Well, I'm going to cut you off there, because you just got something that really kind of triggered with me. What do you mean about that? You usually get a plethora of investigations when it comes to Christmas time.
That's something. One of my theories is, I'm going to kind of go off from Christmas time. So I don't believe that there is a veil around Halloween. So I believe that Christmas time is more of an active time, because people tend to have more happy memories. There's always tragic memories. There's always something tragic or happy that happens at that time. Like, I've heard more Christmas stories, like ghost stories around Christmas time. And every time, not like every year we get homeowners, but every, other year, we always get somebody calling right after Christmas time, and they're like, hey, there's something going on, and they feel like there's something going on in their house. And to me, my theory is because it is a happy time, and a lot of times, it's more like a residual haunting time. It's great for, it's a great memory impact. I actually have had more experiences around Christmas time than any other time of the year. Like, I've seen some of my dead cats around that time. My grandmas came to visit me at that time. I just feel like it's because it's a time for family and friends to get together. And sometimes, relatives that have passed away come to visit. And sometimes it's just a time to invite those relatives that have passed away to come to visit. And people don't realize that they have invited their, dead grandma to visit, or somebody that has died in that house around that time, which happens. you have to think, like, sometimes a lot of car accidents happen at that time, so people don't never make it to their destination. So, and I feel like because more people are inside their homes around winter and, around that time, that they start noticing more, too. So, around fall, everybody's still outside enjoying, fall things. So, but when winter hits, more people are inside, so they start noticing more around that time. So, and we always get more homeowner hunts around winter all the time. So, not just around Christmas, but just around winter. So, I just think people just notice it more, and that's one thing I believe in. So, and we always get one or two every year, 1 or 2 up to 3 homeowner hunts or businesses calling, saying, "Hey, there's something going on in our business." So, and I always think it's kind of interesting. So,
Donna in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker would like to know, have you ever felt, Elies, that there was cases that you just didn't want to follow through on after hearing the story because you knew it was an actual true story?
Yep, I've had a couple of them that were also, like, it might be something I don't even want to deal with. Like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, like, I've even had members go, maybe you shouldn't go into that. Like, it's just like, like, you're just afraid that, something is going to happen, I always think that something bad's going to happen if I get warned by an investigator, because they're like, oh, please, watch out, because I've had homeowner investigations that were really scary. So, and I've had to cleanse their home, and it was the scariest thing and I'm usually not scared of anything ghost-wise. So when I am scared of something that's ghost-wise, usually it scares everyone else. So, but yeah, like some of them, when I hear that it is a true story or a tragic story, I'm always like kind of like I'm not sure if I want to experience this. Like, what if it happens? Like, what if it was like somebody got murdered in that person's house, and you found out by looking it up, and then you heard the story about the creepy man that lives in that house or something like that died. I am pretty hesitant when I go into those places, but at the same time, I'm still open to that. So, but yeah, it's pretty, like, I always thought it was kind of like you always have to be kind of, hesitant to go into some place, especially if it's a murder house. So, but that's just kind of how I see it.
Tell us a story that really kind of freaked you out that you just didn't want to be a part of.
Oh, a story. So do you want me to tell you like a ghost, like one of my ghost stories? Because I can tell you that.
Let's get into it. We got about 3 minutes left before we got to go to break. So why don't you tease us a little bit, and then we'll finish it up after the break.
Okay, so I will start telling you the story of when we went to Virginia City, Montana. Recently, this is like my story I've been telling like people in the last couple times we've had events. Is I have ran into a doppelganger. So, and with my member Kira, which I always have experiences with, and he was in what they call the hanging house. And yeah, he was like, I can't even explain it, but I want to tell you more about it because it's pretty intense, like, story. And I would need like more time to like go in detail of how he was colder than a normal human being. And like, we saw him show up. Like when we got to the hanging house, Kira and I watched him appear, and even now, Kira won't even talk about it with me. She's like that frightened of it. She was like, okay. But yeah, and then later on I found out that that person was like a real person. I like seen the picture of him, the owner of the hanging house, and it was creepy. So, but yeah, he's like led us into the hanging house to do an investigation, and Kira and I were more interested in this guy because we saw him appear, and he was colder than a normal person. Like normally people like run about 80, 70, 80. He was like 50. So, and the thing that was kind of off from him was his hat, and he had like an ace and a 3, and on his hat, which was red, but the picture that the person showed me, that the cards were on the other side, and they were the same thing, but they were black. So it freaked me out, and the guy was really solid, so it was really creepy. So, yeah.
Weird. And on that note, we're going to take a break here. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. Elies Adams is our guest tonight. We'll be back right after this. Stay tuned.
Looking for news beyond the mainstream news? Head to spacedoutradio.com and check out the SOR Spacewire. This is Spaced Out Radio's Eric Markham, news director for the SOR Spacewire. Daily, I will bring you intriguing stories and outlandish reports from what's going on around the world. UFO sightings, paranormal activity, conspiracies, alternative health, and so much more. And if you have news, email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries, so tune in at spacedoutradio.com.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions.
Have you ever wondered about those weird and strange creatures people have reported throughout history? Do you wonder if those stories are real? Me too, and that's why I started Cryptopia.us. Hey, this is Rob Morphy, crypto historian. Join me once a month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will get into the odd and bizarre reports, from the Dover Demon to hairy hominids and everything in between. I will break down what people like you and me are seeing at spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest. From Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. In high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Have you ever had an extraterrestrial experience? One you just couldn't explain? Well, maybe I can help. Hello, I am Samantha Mullet. On the second Tuesday of each month, I will join Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio to bring a human aspect to ET contact. It's something I've lived with my entire life, and I'd love to help you understand. Let's share our experiences. The ET Experience, the second Tuesday of each month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Revealette Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, revealetteRndr.wix.com/RevealetteR&R.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness. You can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium, Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Do you have a topic or a guest that you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Let us know at spacedoutradio.com, where you can sign up to become a Space Traveler member today. Or you can find us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio Show. Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight's SOR Space Travelers. Stroopwafels. Stroopwafels is the password. Don't know what it means, but he stumped me again, and I don't think I mispronounced this one, so thanks, Bill. Stroopwafels, if you're an SOR Space Traveler, it is the password of the night. Remember, if you're a listener on Revolution Radio, the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Do us a favor and donate today. We want to say thank you to everyone tuning in and taking part in the Revolution Radio chat room, the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, as well as all of you who are in a packed house of the SOR Space Travelers. Good to have you along for the ride. Tomorrow night on the show, Samantha Mowat is back. We are going to be talking ET Contact with the ET Experience with Samantha Mowat, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Hey, if you're a social media junkie like I am, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also listen to our archives on TuneIn as well as iTunes, as we are now available on iTunes as well. And, of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, you can join the SOR Space Travelers Club. It's only $5 a month. You can look into that by checking out our website. You can also read up on the SOR Spacewire by our resident preacher, Eric Markham. and check out our latest blogs and so much more. Tonight we are talking paranormal. We're going almost to the Pacific Northwest into the state of Montana. Elies Adams is our guest. She runs Bozeman Paranormal. Good to have you back.
Hey.
Right before the break, you were telling us a little bit of a story that kind of freaked you out about the gentleman that you saw a full-body apparition. Does that happen often for you?
No, it doesn't. So, I think I've only seen one other full-body apparition, and that was at the Deer Lodge Old Prison, and ever since, I've only seen, the only thing I've ever seen after that was, maybe what I call, only seen, a pair of legs, walking, and that was also in Virginia City. But, yeah, I've only really had, one other experience of that's full-body apparition. So, but, yeah, mostly I just feel things. I never hear anything or really anything else. So, usually if I do see something or hear something, I try to have it experience with somebody. So, yeah. But, yeah, that's usually, yeah.
Earlier in the show, you mentioned that your group, Bozeman Paranormal, really likes to try and help people out. How do you try and help people? What is the process in regards to that?
So, usually if people want, to get, rid of the spirit, we cleanse the home, or we offer other information based off your religion, if it's something that's demonic or, stuff like that. Or if they feel like they're more comfortable of having, if based off their religion, have somebody bless their home, then we'll get them the information for that. But also, I've had recently a homeowner that just was okay with the spirit being there. It's just they didn't want the spirit to scare the kids at all. So whatever was there was scaring the kids. So what we did is while we were cleansing it, we were cleansing their home because they tried to cleanse their home and it wouldn't go away. And it's I told them, sometimes when you cleanse a home or a business, it takes more than one time. Sometimes it'll take a couple times to get rid of the spirit or, try to pass them on. But yeah, this one that we did was the homeowner that we did just wanted to make peace with the spirit. So while we were cleansing, we were just telling him, well, you're welcome to stay. You just can't scare the kids anymore. You have to leave the kids alone. Well, I told them after we were done, if you have any other troubles, I told them the same thing I just told you. Is it might take a couple times to get them to understand that. And sometimes cleansings, they take a long time. They take up, sometimes they'll take up to 4 hours, 6 hours. It's up to how big the building or home is. And sometimes it, takes 1 or 2 times to come back, to get rid of it. Well, when we left the home and they understood, they were like, yeah, we'll call you if there's any other trouble. Never heard from them again. So I'm assuming that Spirit was okay with, what we did. So we always try to make, kind of like a truce in a way, saying, hey, you're allowed to still stay here, but, you can't really do this. And, you have to keep, a distance because a distance from the kids or stop scaring the kids and dog and all that kind of thing. So, and we think that helps. And also it kind of makes, when you're going in, you're trying to make the owner just feel like, we're making them feel, safe. So we always tell them that if you want us to come and follow up, let us know. And, we're always welcome to, answer any questions. Sometimes I'll just get, like somebody calling me just to ask a question on what's going on. So, like, I've had people just call me and say, hey, I have this going on. I don't want it to happen. So usually I tell them that, what you should do first is tell the spirit in the home, leave me alone. Usually spirits have, it's like a boundary thing. This is my theory, is they understand that that you need to leave the person alone. It's kind of like you're talking to a person that's passed on. So assuming I'm like, person should know that, I'm scaring the person, I need to leave them alone. So, and I've had, that work sometimes. But if it doesn't work, that's when we come in and we try to figure out if it's even something paranormal. So, and if it ends up becoming something paranormal, we always pack sage, a feather, and, just like this. We just try to keep an open mind and positivity when we're doing cleansings. We'll just say, nothing but positivity needs to be in this home. No negative, nothing negative is allowed to be here. Also, we have like a saying that we can use, which I don't have with me, but just honestly, just thinking happy thoughts while you're cleansing, because that usually helps. So, and I always tell everybody that is in the room that you also have to think positive thoughts. So, and it seems to work. I mean, I never had really a homeowner call me back saying, oh, that didn't work. And the thing with cleansings, you have to get everything. You have to open all the drawers. You have to tell these people to hide their little things that they don't want to be seen, pretty much. And you have to open even the refrigerator, and you have to open the refrigerator doors. You have to open the microwave door. You have to open everything. So when you're going, that's why it takes so long. So, yeah.
Do you feel that most spirits that you deal with, whether they're in a commercial or residential area or wherever they may be where people are, that they are willing to compromise? Maybe not go to the light, but it is an option. But that they are willing to compromise because maybe they just don't know that they're freaking out the people who are in the residence, or maybe they don't know who those people are.
Yeah, I think so, because like I said, we just recently did a homeowner a couple weeks ago that was having the same problem. They've tried to cleanse the house. So, and when we walked in, I totally knew that, immediately, I was like, there's something here. And she didn't even tell me what the gender was. She didn't tell me anything. It just seemed like it was she told me the history of the house, saying that she was a second person owning the home. And so pretty much it sounded like the previous owner did not want to leave. And it wasn't going to harm anybody, but it was really fascinated by the kids, because she told me that the previous owner had kids. So you think about it oh, well, it's fascinated by the kids because it used to have, when they was alive, it had kids. So to me, I feel like at the end, they were willing to compromise that if the spirit cannot leave, they're fine with it, with it being there. And what we did while we were cleansing, we're like, you're welcome to stay. The way we did the cleansing that time was we're trying to make a compromise kind of cleansing, saying, hey, you're welcome to stay. You're allowed to be at these parts of the house. You're just not allowed to, freak out the kids, and pretty much you're just trying to make a boundary kind of thing. And that's kind of how it's supposed to work. And I believe that it works, because I would have probably gotten a phone call by now saying, oh, it didn't work, because, the lady told me that that there was a lot of activity, almost every day. So, and I didn't hear from him since, so I'm assuming that the compromise went well. So, I feel if if the spirit just doesn't want to pass on or go to the light or whatever it is, that you're willing to make a compromise that, that's telling you that you're not, you know that it's there and you're not afraid of, the spirit and, all that, it's part of what our motto is you're just trying to spread, the awareness of that. So, and the part of it is making compromise with the spirit that's out there. So, and that's just how we see it.
And in reality, we do have to remember that the spirit is a person, and they may be confused on the other side. So when you're dealing with the spirits, and they're, say, bothering people in a residential area or bothering people in an old tavern or a restaurant or a commercial building, how often when you are in communication with the spirit are they actually telling you that they don't know who's there, or maybe they're confused of what's happened to them?
I always tell, especially if it's a business, if, like some businesses like to give their spirit names, and sometimes, those spirits are confused, and they don't know that they're there, so, and they don't even know that they've died, so, which is, it's sad, because I'm all like, I've had, experiences in, like, especially hotels. I don't know what it is with even, pretty modern day hotels, places where some spirits have committed suicide, that they're confused and they don't know where they are. So that's a time where you just have to take your matters at hand and try to pass on the spirit. And, if it doesn't work, then you give them other, information about, like, things that they could use, like, blessings and stuff like that, other things that they could try to pass on the spirit, or just encourage, because to me, I feel like the spirit knows that they can pass on if you could talk to them, like, okay, if you can get them to because I've had like a conversation with a spirit, well, I think I have, that didn't know that it was, dead, and when you've had a conversation and you've, had acknowledgement, I just feel, because I'm an empath, so I can feel the change of emotion. So when I've talked to spirits about when they're confused and saying, hey, you're no longer with the living anymore, and you just kind of encourage it, like, if you can see what I call, like, I don't know what it is, I'm like, if you could see a doorway or the light, you need to go to that. And sometimes that works. It's encouraging the spirit that, hey, if you do see something, to encourage it, because some of, to me, I think some spirits are, they're people. So, and most of them are, and they don't, you have to think, if you don't know that you're dead, it has to be scary. So, and you're confused, so a little bit of, encouragement, kind of saying, hey, just an understanding in a way. So, and I've done that once. I haven't done that, like, I'm mostly cleansed. So, but I do try to, while I'm in here, in a building, I said, if you do see some form of light and you do not want to be here anymore, it's time for you to go, and just kind of go and just kind of encourage it while I'm, while I'm even investigating. I'm like, because I always feel like sometimes investigators don't understand that the spirits might not even want to be there anymore. So, like, I've heard, like, EVP sessions that's made me cry, because it's like, that's the person was asking you to pass them on. And instead of, you got your answer, it's just telling me that that person is asking you, please help me. Do you know how to help me? And stuff like that. So I do believe that, encouraging or just cleansing, and because I'm, dealing, to me, I feel like spirits, they're people, so you're trying to help them too. So, yeah.
Do you prefer,
kind of real passionate.
Elies, do you prefer taking a haunting or activity and investigation to a residential or a commercial place rather than where a lot of paranormal groups prefer to do museums or cemeteries or rundown asylums or something along those lines?
Yeah, my first investigation was a hotel that was only around for like 30 years. And to me, everybody's like, oh, old museums and stuff like that. Yes, I do love ghost towns, don't get me wrong. Yeah, there's some spirits at some of those old places. But people don't understand that. Some investigators don't understand some of these places, had suicides happen in the buildings. Or like, their business, something's happened that, or when they built the, business, you don't know what the land was on. You don't know what the land was, or you don't know what the business was there before. So now something resides in that business. So, like, our first investigation was in Butte, Montana. It was in the Copper King Hotel and Convention Center. And it's no longer a building anymore, but that's the thing with Butte. It's old, and things don't last very long. But anyways, and so to me, I'm open to everything. I don't feel, not just the cemeteries are just kind of spooky. So I don't always, to me, I feel like it's just a resting place. Sometimes I feel like cemeteries that before the cemetery was there, something could, that's why you're seeing something at the cemetery, is because something before the cemetery was there, there's something there. So, but sometimes I feel like there is like guardians and stuff at cemeteries. But yeah, like, I don't always like go, I usually take, non-members to cemeteries or like abandoned buildings because they think they're spooky. But I do take like a lot of businesses that are trying to figure out what's going on in their building. So, and especially when they're doing construction. So, I always get these calls sometimes, not lately, but usually businesses that are starting to do remodeling, and then all of a sudden they've had activity. So, and they're fairly new buildings. So yeah, I don't just go into old abandoned buildings and cemeteries. So,
I always think it's funny when you get these people who go into residential homes, and before going in, the person who lives there will say, we're getting strange activity, we believe it's haunted. And then they confirm that it's haunted, and they do nothing about it. Is there a lot of that happens in Montana? And the reason why I'm asking is Eric Cooper, who is from Forest Moon Paranormal in Washington State, he also does a lot of work here on Spaced Out Radio. One of his group, Forest Moon Paranormal, is basically what he calls a crisis management group, where when something happens, say a paranormal team goes into a residence or someplace like that, and they cause a stir because they really don't know what they're doing, and next thing you know, the spirits are kind of upset, and they start getting more and more aggressive in their activity. He has to send his team in there to go clean up the mess, to calm the spirits down and come to that compromise that we talked about a little bit beforehand. Do you see a lot of that happening in Montana?
Actually, I don't. It's just kind of surprising because, like, a couple of years ago, I wonder if Great Falls is doing okay, because I've had, like, homeowners all of a sudden just call me in Great Falls, like about like negative spirits and stuff. And I couldn't do anything about it because Great Falls from Bozeman is like a 4 to 5 hour drive from here. So, so I always try to find them information about like other paranormal groups around there. And I even try to contact them myself to see even if they do cleansing, because not all paranormal groups do things to get rid of, spirits in the home, or some places, some paranormal groups don't even take residential, like take residents, or like people that own a home or anything. They mostly just take businesses or haunted, creepy places. So, but I haven't ran into that too much. So usually I've noticed a lot of people, I must be like, I think that they do the same thing as we do, or if they don't, if I don't hear about it. So stuff like that. But I think we're fairly, we work together kind of state. So we try not to make things go worse.
And that's the hard part, because there are a lot of people who go in there because of the lack of education in the paranormal field. They go into these places and basically stir things up a little bit. And because they don't know what they're doing fully on their own, they have no other intention of learning besides what they are seeing on TV. I mean, let's face it, there's no education for this. And you're lucky if that's that you're not having to deal with a lot of that, because I can tell you there's a lot of other markets that are having to deal with those types of messes.
Yeah, that's true, because this seems like also, I think, because Montana, we really just like, you have to, like, I guess like there's not as many paranormal groups in Montana either. Like, at the moment, I think only Missoula, Butte, Livingston, and Bozeman, which is and then Billings, and maybe like a few like smaller ones in smaller towns. But really, we don't, like Great Falls doesn't even have a paranormal group anymore. I don't even think Helena, which is our capital, has one. I'm not sure. But yeah, like, really, I talk to all the other paranormal groups a lot. So, and, I always ask, I've always had conversations about them doing homeowners and stuff like that. And I've never had them, like, stirring up other people. And I never had, like, phone calls where, like, oh, so-and-so paranormal group just came in here and stirred up stuff. Could you come in? I heard you did cleansings or something. And then, like, saying, something like that, where I never had that, like, problem. I do believe that we're a pretty decent state trying to, work together. So, but I have heard other, states have had that problem before. I have, but yeah.
What's the difference for you in going to a business compared to a residential area? Now, I realize they're apples and oranges because people aren't living in a business, but do you find the activity to be different, or do you find it mutually the same?
I found it a little different. So, homeowners, or I call them homeowners, so, right? But I feel like, when you're going into a homeowner, I end up experiencing more, spirits that feel like they're mostly like previous owners in a way. So it just feels like more homey. So when I go into businesses and it feels like, an old coworker or something, it feels different. Like, oh, that person's still at work kind of feeling. Like, it feels more busy when you're having more activity in a business than it is in a homeowner, to me. I just feel like it's just a little bit more different activity-wise. So, that's how I kind of feel like how it is. Is sometimes more businesses have more deaths or something has happened in the building that has caused more deaths. And then, like, homeowners, sometimes they've only had one or two previous owners of the home. So there's not as much activity. So you might just have one possible spirit in the home, compared to if you are going into a hotel and there's, like, maybe 5 or 6 spirits in there, and you just have a completely different form of activity. It's just a lot more. So, and when you go into a home, you don't, I never really, have as much activity compared to, like, a business. If they say that they have activity. So, yeah.
I always think of a story that James Tyson, the host of Spaced Out Weekend, told me, and this happened just recently. His group that he investigates with, the Canadian Paranormal Society, they went to a historic area, a town here in British Columbia called Fort Langley. And there's a giant fort that's still a museum there and everything. And close to the fort, there is a pub there that is supposed to be very, very haunted. And so they went in there and they were talking to the bar manager, and she's like, "Nope, don't believe in that crap. Don't understand, why people keep talking about it. Nothing really happens here. We get the odd thing." And in the meantime, as this lady is saying this, and James and a couple people from the team are standing there talking to her, a beer mug flies off the shelf and shatters on the ground. And they're kind of looking like, "What's that? What was that?" And this lady just shrugged it off. She goes, "Yeah, sometimes stuff like that happens, but this place isn't haunted." Do you get a lot of naivety like that in Montana?
Yeah, I do. Because I've done, it's kind of funny because Virginia City, I did, and my second investigation was like it was like an old hotel. It's called the Fairweather Inn. So when I was almost locked into a room, and that something was trying to contact me, and I was almost locked into a room in the hotel. So later on, I was like, well, because now I've been in the field a couple of years, maybe we should go back to Fairweather Inn. So I called the manager. Well, the manager answers. Actually, the owner answers. And she goes, "Oh, there's no paranormal activity in this place." And we're all like, I don't believe in ghosts. And she totally went off on me and told me that, "Don't call here again. I don't believe in ghosts, blah, blah, blah." And then ever since I'm like, well, how can you not believe in ghosts? There's a ton of them in there, because all my group, everyone has an experience. Either it was with me or it was something that went on. We even had a newspaper come out with us, and they all had experiences. So I'm all like, I don't know where that owner lives. I'm pretty sure it's not in Montana, because some people own properties of ghost towns, and they don't live there, but they only go there during the summer, or So, but yeah. So when I'm talking to this lady, I'm like, what is she talking about? I was in there and almost locked into room 4, and I even caught it on camera. And I'm like, to me, I'm always like, where do these people just shrug it off, they don't understand what's going on, kind of thing, they're in their own little world or something. I don't know. So when the lady told me that, I'm thinking okay, lady. So but that's just how I think, So some people, I just feel like they just in their own little world. They probably see that stuff all the time, but they don't. It's just they don't want to believe it, So, I'm pretty sure, that owner, which I think now Virginia City, the commissioners, I could call, the whole commission, the whole town of Virginia City, I think owns the whole. They now have just all of them just own they don't just have people managing it, but you could just talk to a commissioner or something like that. Anyways, But yeah, so that kind of, when I talked to that lady, I was just kind of, I feel like people just don't want to believe it, even though they're seeing it. So.
Where's probably the most haunted place you've investigated? And tell us what happens there.
Okay, most haunted place that I've investigated. So, I think the most haunted place that I have investigated was, I'm going to say the Rialto Theater in Bozeman. So, actually, we're going to get to go back in there because they're doing some construction right now. At the moment, they were a non-profit owned it. It's been having like a hard time finding owners to actually, rebuild the Rialto, which is, it's kind of weird because it's downtown Bozeman, and downtown is like a huge thing down here. And but now they have an owner. So I decided, when the previous owner owned it, we decided that we finally got a place in Bozeman, and we're going to go investigate. I caught like this really crazy, we caught this crazy EVP session, and I showed the now owners, and now they want us to come back in. But when we were in there, like two of my other members I was with all had an experience at the same time with me. So, and we also, I think, caught part of it on camera. So, and on EVP, well, the voice recorder. So, and everyone that went on that investigation had some form of activity. And what we're hoping is when we go back is we're hoping that the activity's still around, because the EVP that we caught was a name, and it was up in the production room. We're hoping that it's part of the building, or if they removed, because they still had the the movie thing in there, and we're hoping that it wasn't attached to the movie thing. So it was kind of like our experiment. We're hoping that maybe the spirits are still around. Also, there's ballrooms upstairs, and we had some weird experiences up there. I feel like it's really haunted. It's like one of my top haunting places. And, my second is actually a homeowner. But yeah, and the place is in Bozeman, and I keep trying to tell people that, but downtown Bozeman is very haunted. So...
Elies, what kind of spirits are there, though? Are they more just human-type spirits because they just haven't moved on yet? Or are you looking at something a little bit more sinister along the lines of demons? Because demons are very popular right now, and, for most paranormal teams, they have a demonologist who's never been trained. You know how it goes with that. But what kind of spirits are you dealing with?
And, I do not deal with demons. Honestly, none of my other members do. So we try to keep away, like we try as the key word, we try. But also if we do get something like that, it's like we give them other information. But anyways, I believe that, like, places in Bozeman, so far I haven't ran into very negative spirits. I feel like it's very positive and very, happy. Like the one at the Rialto, we think it was a previous actor. So, like somebody that acted there, and he's no longer alive. And the crazy thing is he has a star across the street, because downtown Bozeman, they have, like, there's another theater across the street, and it's old. And they put, like, a bunch of metal stars on the ground. And, well, the name that we caught on the EVP session is also across the street, and that guy's no longer alive. So, but I feel like it's very positive and, good energy. I have not ran into too many negative spirits. So, and that's what, other than if you're running into, like, vigilantes and stuff like that, just know that they're just kind of rough people that just were trying to be rebellious in their day. So, but yeah.
So with the spirits that are there right now, especially in a lot of these ghost towns, are they more rough and tumble type cowboys from the wild, wild west, or are they just ordinary people who are trying to settle down and just take in life? You know, maybe some farming, maybe some hunting and trapping.
Mm-hmm. You know, it depends. So, like, the background for Bannock is Henry Plummer was the he was like the he was a leader of the vigilantes of this vigilante group, and they all got hung and killed, and some of them are buried in Virginia City. Well, Henry Plummer was also the sheriff of Bannock, so you feel a lot of the energy of vigilantes and the cowboy thing, and also you feel a lot of when you go into one of the buildings called the Quarantine House in Bannock, which is where they put all the sick kids and women. You feel a lot of children and women spirits in there, and just because you think about it, it's an old west town, smallpox went around, and, you just feel that kind of energy out there. And same with other ghost towns. It just feels like some of them you feel like it's more like a mining town. Butte's a good example because it was one of the biggest mining towns in Montana, and it's still, a fairly big city. People still live there. It's on a ghost town, even though it looks like a ghost town. But yeah, like some cities and towns, it does feel like still like the mining part of it, but also you feel like kind of the old west kind of spirits around, like Bannock. So, and it's still, I still feel it, but I'm going to Butte this weekend, and it feels like it just looks like something out of a Stephen King novel. I'll just put that out there. And when you go into Butte, you feel the spirit energy in there. It's just it was a lot of death. So, and you feel like it's very minor kind of thing. So, yeah.
Why was there a lot of death in Butte?
Oh, that's a good. Well, if you've ever heard, well, there's like the Berkeley Pit, which is one of the biggest. It's pretty much it's just there's a pit in the ground that has a lot of chemicals in it, and it's gross. But anyways, why there was a lot of death is because they were trying to mine the ground to the point where the ground started to die. So, and the ground is pretty much, you can't grow anything in Butte. So, there's people just going there to try to make a living. And it ended up kind of just dying off. So, a lot of people ended up dying because they couldn't get their mining up to, par. They also died in the mines. And actually, I guess you could get access to one of the mines, but I've never been to one of them. But yeah, people would constantly die trying to go mine, and also they died because they were trying to mine. Now it's called the Berkeley Pit. So, and if you fell into the pit, you pretty much just incinerated, pretty much, and just also. It's a huge Irish town, so it was a big thing for the Irish, and they were all trying to mine the city, and a lot of people, it's one of our biggest cities that has the most paranormal activity. So, and you get the Dumas brothel, and all that, all has actually Dumas brothel is the oldest brothel in America. So, and it's no longer going around, but it was the oldest. it was the oldest, longest running brothel. And there's apparently a prostitute that still haunts the place. And I've actually gone in there, but never really experienced, the spirit. But yeah, there's just so much death, mostly for the mining reason. So, yeah.
So it wasn't a violent place. It was more so just hardworking people down on their luck and not having any breaks in the world, whether it's in the mines, whether it's in the farms because of the soil.
Mhm. Pretty much. That's pretty much Butte, and people still live there. Like, it's not really a ghost town. It's just like, well, to me, it's kind of ghost town, but still like a pretty thriving, town, a city in a way. But that's just kind of how most Montana towns look like nowadays. It's just, not except for Bozeman and Billings, but like in Missoula, but some of them just look like they look like they're going on their way to a ghost town in a way. So, but yeah, like even this weekend, because I'm going somewhere with a member, and we're staying in in one of the Butte hotels that is supposedly haunted, and 2 presidents stayed there, and it's called the Finland Hotel. I think it's called the Finland Hotel. It's most likely called the Finland Hotel, and I guess they're supposed to, I don't know the whole story of the paranormal activity there. I'm going to ask, but yeah, like 2 presidents have stayed there. It used to be like one of the places where a lot of famous people would stay and stuff like that. So Butte has a lot of history. It's one of my favorite cities in Montana.
Besides the paranormal, is there a lot of cryptid and extraterrestrial activity or UFO activity that happens there? Like, I know you're right next door to North Dakota, where they have a few nuclear missile silos.
Yeah, there's apparently is. I'm not, of course I don't touch. I believe that kind of stuff because we have so much, we're not in like a bunch of cluttered cities where you can't see the stars as much. So, like, if you go out to, camping and stuff, a lot of people end up having more of that kind of experiences. Actually, there's a lady, an author in Montana, I don't remember her name, but she wrote a book on UFOs of Montana. So, and she recently came to Bozeman, and I never got to meet her, but yeah, like, I've had experiences like that before too. So I do believe that Montana is one of those states where you could have those kind of experiences. So, yeah.
So you mainly deal in paranormal. You don't have other people on your team who will go into investigating other branches of the paranormal?
I have a couple people that we get invited to a lot of conventions that are based off the paranormal, and we're pretty open-minded when we go to other paranormal things. Like, UFOs, but we do stick more with the ghost hunting thing. But we are pretty open-minded. I guess Montana is one of the big sightings for Bigfoot. There's actually a Bigfoot convention coming up in October, and we're, sending advertisements to them. But especially in Yellowstone, there apparently is a lot of Bigfoot sightings. And, I do tell members if you want to, be open to looking for other things, we do go camping. So we go camp out in ghost towns and possible places that are haunted, even like trails and, because we are, pretty much Montana's like an outdoor community. So we do keep our minds open to other things. So, because I'm pretty sure if Bigfoot came out on a hiking trail, half of my group would start taking pictures of it. So, but I have since you've been being in the paranormal field, anything can happen. So I am always open to people proving me wrong, and stuff like that, saying, oh, look, I caught Bigfoot, or I caught a UFO, or, stuff like that. So I am pretty open to that.
I kind of like the aliens and Bigfoot, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, there's supposed to be what they call Big Sky Bigfoot Convention in Missoula coming up, so we were invited to MonsterCon, Magic City MonsterCon in Billings, which is also going to have all different types of paranormal field people, so, and special guests and all that, so I'm pretty excited for that. But yeah, that's what Montana's like. We're pretty open to all the paranormal fields, so.
Well, that's good. So how many ghost towns have you actually investigated in Montana if you say they're hidden all over the place?
It's like ghost town. Oh, so I really don't know, because there's always it seems like we come across more and more each year. So far, our group tries to go and locate, at least 2 or 3 each summer. So far, we've been to at least 20 ghost towns. And that's a lot for, and not all of them have still buildings standing. Some of them is just a couple buildings, maybe a wall or two, maybe something still standing. But yeah, we've came across maybe 20, and that's not even touching, the ghost towns, because some people they own. If you're owning a piece of land out here, they come across the part of their land owning the ghost town. So, yeah, we've came across quite a bit.
Question from Bill Cardwell in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Bill is asking, Elies, do you like to investigate sites where there have been many EVP hits, or do you like to go to the places where spirits may not like to be bothered?
I don't like to go and touch places that spirits don't really like to be bothered, but if the place also has a lot of EVP hits, yeah, I'll go to it. If it's, because it can happen, both of them can happen at the same place. All of a sudden that spirit doesn't want to be bothered but has a lot of EVP hits, but that's part of it. But I mostly would like to just have one that has the EVP hits or has a lot of activity happening in the building. So that's pretty much what I think. I don't really like touching spirits that don't want to be touched with, because I feel well, how would you like it if somebody comes up, if you don't want to be bothered, and then you're what is this person? It's just kind of it's poking somebody that doesn't want to be poked. So it's just messing with the wrong people kind of thing. So I'd rather go to somewhere that has a lot of EVP hits. That's telling me that spirit wants to talk to you. So that's how I see it. It's trying to get you the answers. But
have you ever investigated in Billings, Montana with the Moss Mansion? Because this place looks so freaky.
I have never done that, but there is a Billings group there. So if I ever do, I probably have to invite them. And that's, that group has been around for 7 years. So, but yeah, I don't usually, like I said, I don't try to touch the territorial thing. But the Moss Mansion, I've been there, and it's super creepy, even just looking at the outside of it. And one of these days, I'm going to have to set up an investigation, invite Billings, and do it, because that would be just an awesome place to go, because I've seen it, and it's really spooky. It's just have to park off the side of the road just to go look at it. So, which I did that. So,
we got about 2 minutes here before we got to go to our next break. I want to hit you up with one from Bozeman. Apparently there's a little girl running around Bear Canyon Campground. Have you ever investigated that one?
Oh, we are. That's great. We go to Bear Canyon every summer. Like, it's a hot spot. I can tell you that. That place is super hot, a hot spot. So we never caught the little girl, but we have caught a man up there. And one of my investigators had a phantom phone call from out there because there's no service up in Bear Canyon. That's the thing with Montana. You can walk through a busy city and then lose service. But Bear Canyon is definitely a hot spot. Every time we go there all the time. So, and it's every time we go there, most of the time we have an experience. So, it's a great place. I can tell you that.
Well, you got to go find that little girl. As someone
eventually.
You know what? I've had a little girl haunting in my house that I lived in with my ex-wife, and I'll never forget the day we were moving out. We're cleaning the shelves right by the bathroom, and all of a sudden from the storage room I hear in a little girl's voice, "Mommy." And I said to my ex-wife, "Did you hear that?" And she goes, "What?" I said, "From the storage room, the word mommy." She's like, "We're out of here." And on that note, we're going to commercial here on Spaced Out Radio. We'll be back with hour number 3 and Elies Adams from Bozeman Paranormal right after this.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 mediums and a large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Have you checked out the SOR Spacewire at spacedoutradio.com yet? Every day we post the latest stories regarding the weird, strange, and completely unbelievable. From cryptid and UFO sightings to the conspiracy world, we tackle it all. Hi there, I'm Eric Markham, Space Out Radio's news director for the SOR Spacewire. And if you have a story, I want to hear it. Email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy, from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back for the final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. If you're an SOR space traveler, your password is Stroopwafels. Bill Cardwell setting a strange one for tonight. Stroopwafels is your password, so make sure if you're a space traveler, you use it wisely. Tomorrow night on the show, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, Samantha Mowat is back. To me, she's the best-kept secret in the field of ufology. The ET Experience with Samantha Mowat will be back tomorrow night on this show. I'm looking forward to it. I want to thank everyone who's taking part in the Revolution Radio chat room. Remember, if you're in the Revolution Radio side, it is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Do us a favor. Donate today. If you're in the Space Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, there's a bunch of people in there who've been chatting all night. We thank you for your participation, as well as the packed house and the SOR Space Travelers. Good to have you along for the ride as well as we kick off a new week right here on Spaced Out Radio. Remember, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, you can read the Preacher's SOR Spacewire. Eric Markham updates it on a daily basis. You can also check out the fact that we are now on iTunes. You can check out that we are on TuneIn. You can listen to Ron Bumblefoot Thal, formerly of Guns N' Roses, our music master. And, of course, you could join the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is just $5 a month. And with that, you get access to a private section on our website, private group interviews, and your name gets put into monthly prize draws. Let's bring in Elies Adams from Bozeman, Montana. Bozeman Paranormal is her group that she runs. Elies, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to start off with a question here from Gloria in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Elies, suppose you would get a dinosaur EVP if you went out in the open field. Have you ever thought of that happening?
You know, I have never thought of that happening. That would be like the coolest thing ever. I don't know how I would react to it. And I never thought about, like, dinosaurs having a spirit, but that would be, now I'm going to have to, like, totally, like, see if I can catch something now, because that's kind of cool. Because I've always been fascinated by dinosaurs, so, you know, and that would be an interesting thing to catch.
You know, that has to be one you have to go for, and if you get one, please let us know first and foremost, because that would be absolutely thrilling to all of a sudden hear a roar or something on an EVP recorder, you know, in the middle of like a dinosaur bone field or something along those lines.
Yeah, you know, that would be really cool. You know, I'm pretty sure not just you would want to know, like all those people that are like into dinosaurs, they'd be like, really, it would probably add to their, you know, research. So that's something to, you know, keep, you know, to look into. I never thought about that until now. Thank you for your listener for asking me that. Oh,
no problem. No problem. And they're pretty good at asking questions. So they come up with the ones that I just don't think about. It's really cool.
Yeah, I never think about that. I would never think about, like, listening for a dinosaur, like, at all.
Well, something new to try out. Something new to try out. I want to ask you about a couple other haunted places before we get into the Battle of Little Bighorn. The Ellen Theater in Bozeman. It's apparently haunted. Staff claim it's haunted. What do you know about it, and do they allow investigations in there?
I wish they would allow investigations in there. I've been trying to get in there for years. I have actually had, like, people work there and have experiences. It's just the owner wants you to have insurance, and they want you to, you know, they want more. They're just afraid that you're going to hurt yourself, and maybe down the road we'll be able to get in there. It's been my goal to be able to work with the owner because I'm kind of, you know, I've been wanting to hint that, oh, we've done your across the street is where the Rialto is. It's like right across the street from Ellen. So I always wanted to go, well, we've done your neighbor pretty much. So, and we've caught stuff, and I'm hoping to get in there in the future. So I would let you know if we did catch anything. So,
with Montana Bozeman, Montana being the home of Montana State University, and of course, I think all colleges or universities are haunted in one way or another. Is a school like that off limits to a paranormal investigation due to liability and everything like that? Or are they quite open to the fact that they do believe they have spirits roaming around and would allow you to investigate?
Unfortunately, we have tried to get in there, and yet you have to be like a student club, and we've tried that, but I don't have enough people in the group that are students. So it's kind of hard to, get into the place because of you brought up the liability. They just won't go, oh, we've been having hauntings and, could you, come in? No, they want, like you to have members that are students, and they want you to have, be pretty much a student organization to let you into the building, because I've tried, and I just, we've never had enough student, members to really attempt to try to get into MSU. Maybe in the future we'll have enough and we'll be able to try to do a student organization again. It's also trying to find a teacher to represent your student organization that would believe in the spirit of the place. And I've always ran into that problem too, but you never know what the future will hold for us. So that's I always keep an open mind. So, but I have heard it is haunted. I've had people work there, and people that have been janitors that work overnight, and they've had experiences. So I do believe universities, like you said, are haunted in some way or another. So.
And I do have to be asking you, because I don't think that it would be right to do a show from Bozeman, Montana and Bozeman Paranormal without asking about John Bozeman's Bistro that was built in 1905. I mean, the place is 111 years old. You'd have to think by this time, if the town's named after his family, that there would be something of him or his family running around?
So, the thing with the bistro is it used to be located down, like I'm trying to contact like where it used to be. It used to be, what happened was we ended up having an explosion in Bozeman like a long time ago, and some people also think that her spirit's still downtown. But where the bistro was, it ended up having some damage, so they ended up deciding to move the bistro from where it was originally for a long time, and then moving it up, up downtown. Like, it's still downtown, but in a different location. So now there's a cafe where it used to be. So we've been wanting to, see if the cafe's having experiences, because the bistro, where it used to be, said that they used to have footprints show up in the area, or people talking that weren't in the restaurant, and other than the staff. And there's a crazy story with the mural that somebody painted for the bistro that they still have, that has a ghost in the mural. There's a picture of a ghost in it, and that this lady just dropped off this mural for the bistro that was an anonymous person. There's no signature. The person just left the mural there, and the story behind the mural is there looks like there's a ghost in the picture, it's painted off in the side. So there's some weird stories behind the bistro. My brother knows the owner, so I'm hoping maybe I should talk to her about maybe the ghost followed them to the new location. So you never know. But yeah.
Do you think the Bozeman family is walking around town, though? Has anybody tried to track them down?
So we did the Masonic Lodge 6, which is downtown Bozeman, and John Bozeman used to be part of that Masonic Lodge. So there's a lot of history behind John Bozeman. He was he ended up getting killed. They don't really know how he got killed either. And, it's not 100%. I have never had an experience with him, but they do have experiences of him downtown and, saying that he does still haunt the area. They also say he still haunts his grave, which is in the cemetery. So you never know. We might run into him once in a... We never ran into him in the Masonic Lodge. So, but there's a lot of history behind John Bozeman, and he was kind of like a mischievous guy. So he liked to play games with other people in Bozeman, and, they weren't really sure what, he was like trying to steal money from people. It was like weird. He was kind of, I don't know. He just was a mischievous guy, I guess. But yeah, there is sightings of him, but I've never had, it's mostly around his grave, his grave. So maybe one of these days when I take, a group up there, we'll experience him. So.
Was he more of a late Wild Wild West type dude who was running around believing because the town's named after him and his family that, he was the big shot and shouldn't be messed with?
Pretty much. That's just that one little phrase pretty much just sums him up, because he used to he was just kind of like a Wild West cowboy kind of type, but he always liked picking fights with people is what I'm getting at too. So, because he was, to me, I thought, how you would phrase it, because he's named after the town, nobody's going to mess with him if you take a fight with him, but no, they don't even know how it's like he has a mysterious death. Like recently, one of the historical groups that we work with did a play on one of his possible deaths of John Bozeman's deaths here. So, but yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing, and he's not just him. He's not just one of the founders. So, there's the Baxters, and then there's the Stories, and the Story Mansion we've been trying to get into. It's supposedly haunted, and I think I've had a dream of what the inside of the Story Mansion is, and I've been trying to get in there. So those are pretty much the founders of, and the Learkines. So yeah, and I've been in their mansion, the Learkine mansion, and I never experienced anything, but yeah, you just never know.
How about a brew and a ghost hunt at the Montana Ale Works? Everything from jazz music to floating apparitions to a railroad employee that was killed in a machinery accident. It seems to be a very, very active building.
Yeah, and I've tried to get in there, and we had an investigation set up, and it just fell through because they were doing construction, so maybe we'll be able to get in there again. But I've been wanting to get in there because at Bear Canyon, when we did an investigation there, we were asking questions, and we got a question. Well, we had an answer to one of the questions is, what did you do for a living, while you were in Bozeman? Because, pretty much we thought, well, Bear Canyon's kind of off it's still in Bozeman is what I'm getting at. And it said engineer, and the sightings is another sighting in Bear Canyon is a man with a checkered shirt, and that's one of the sightings also in Aleworks. So I've been wanting to go into the Aleworks to kind of go, maybe it's the same guy, you know what I mean? Maybe when he was here, for a, stopping point, because Bozeman was a big stopping point for, the railroad. So maybe while he was stopping here, he liked to go for a hike up Bear Canyon or go hunting or something, So, but that's what I think, maybe some haunting can be connected to another one in another location. So that's a theory for me. So I've been wanting to go into the aleworks. Maybe one of these days I'll finally be able to get in there. We were in there briefly, and I did take pictures and didn't get anything on them and didn't get anything on the recordings, but I'm hoping to go back in there and be able to see if we could catch or get put the puzzle together. So
Montana is known for the Great Sioux War of 1876, and of course the two-day battle of Little Bighorn, which, I mean, it almost sounds like a wrestling match, as you got General Custer on one side, and you got Sitting Bull on the other, and soldiers galore from the 7th Cavalry all the way to all of the First Nation soldiers that were trying to protect their land, and it was an all-out battle. Like, this thing was absolutely ugly. The Battle of the Greasy Grass, Custer's Last Stand, whatever you want to call this. Explain a little bit of history of what happened there, if you don't mind, before we get into the paranormal investigation of it.
Okay, well, it's pretty much Custer's got a bunch of these guys to get, people. It's just asked anybody, and pretty much not all these people wanted to go. They just kind of went with him because he just wanted to look this crazy guy. So, anyways, it was kind of forced upon. So this guy, Custer, was wanting to do one last trying to get the natives to listen to him by doing the battle form, and it didn't work out because the Native Americans ended up getting had more men than him and had better battle strategy. And what happened is he went over the hill and didn't expect that there was going to be more than what he thought, and just got slaughtered. And it was a horrible. Everyone died pretty much. It was just horrible. I mean, not all the natives just slaughtered all of his men and got a better angle at killing them, and it's just Custer was just an idiot. He didn't know. He thought his strategy was better than the natives, and it wasn't. And because he was trying to make a movement for the white people, so. And, try to push them to make an agreement. Well, at some point you have to after doing a battle. But anyways, it was just a nasty battle. It was just horrible. I mean, I can't even get into, the history is just pretty much, the guy tries to ambush them on a different direction, and it didn't work out for him because the natives ended up figuring out what his strategy was and ambushed them, and it was pretty bad. And yeah, I have my dad's friends doing a book on all of Custer's other battles and stuff like that. So he comes over here a lot, and when he comes over and he tells me about the stories about how Custer was just not an idiot. And he was not a smart general at all. He was just not. I mean, he did not know what he was doing. So
definitely one of those situations where he is taking the opposition for granted. So that's never a good sign. So
it's not.
Explain the area where you've investigated, because for the majority of people who are listening to this show, we've never been there. So what is it like there?
So in paranormal way, it is for empaths, it's like hitting a brick wall. All you feel is this sadness and anger, and when you're walking into this, all of this is an open field. I mean, there's no trees, because if you all think that Montana is just filled of mountains and stuff. When you get over to Billings and start going past that way, all it is flat land. So where Little Bighorn is, it's just flat, just no hills or anything. It's just flat. And that's what Little Bighorn looks like. It's just a flat piece of land. So when you're in there as, paranormal investigator, you're not there to really investigate the paranormal. I always tell my paranormal investigators, this is a time to respect the dead. Because I do tell people that you need to do that as well as an investigator. Yes, you can take pictures and do that, but it's also a time. This place is so different than a cemetery, than a ghost town, anything. It's like you're walking upon, just a battle. It's different. I can't even, it's very sad. The whole time I'm there, it's just a sad time. And all it is just flat. You can even see the road from it's just a flat land. And it's really dry and it's nasty. It's just flat. But it is a very sad, when you're walking there, even anyone can sense the sadness there. It's just very sad. So.
Explain that in a deeper context, please, about it being very sad. Is it a heavy feeling there? Is it something that when you're there, you just know because you know what happened there, you know how many people died there, and it's a solemn place? Explain that a little bit deeper.
So it's like heavy. I can't even, when you're walking there, it's just it just weighs you down. When you leave there, your energy is just drained. I mean, you just feel there's just more, there's more than one spirit. I feel like all of the spirits there, they can't they can't go to rest. There's no way you can do anything because it's open land. And it just feels like when you're walking through, it feels like, when you find out your relative has died, and it's just so heavy, and it just feels like, you're just miserable the whole time you're walking through. This miserable, it's hard. It's like going through the death prep, finding out. I can't even really explain it. It's like finding out, that somebody died, and then you're just going through the process. It just feels kind of like that. And one of the experiences we had there was so they have a great, a graveyard just for all the, the people that they found, dead, buried in the graveyard on top of the hill. So, they have gravestones for where they found the body. So you'll come up and they'd be like, so-and-so fell here. Sometimes they won't even have names. They'll say unknown soldiers, fell here. And then they'll, put them up there. Well, one of them says unknown soldier fell here, and it makes me really mad. There's a pathway that goes down to this place called the Deep Ravine, and it's where most of the soldiers were killed. And in the middle of this pathway, there's a gravestone that says unknown soldier fell here. And one of my members, we went down to the Deep Ravine to do an EVP session, and he was still sitting at that spot. And he even took his hat off, and he was just putting cross motion. And every time we go there, I feel it. I feel like this spirit is still here, and it's feeling like it's being disrespected. And you can feel that when you're in there. The feeling of being disrespected. I feel like they don't feel like they're getting enough respect in a way. And it's just an intense feeling, especially, for my member. He won't even talk about what he experienced there. It was just too much for him. So, and he won't even, it's different when, I don't know how to explain it further than that. So.
No, and I think that's a great explanation of what the battlefield is like and the emotion of it all, because it's much like Gettysburg, and I've talked to quite a few people who have been to Gettysburg who relay that same message. Like, the air always seems heavy. It seems full of emotion. You feel sadness the minute you kind of walk into the area. And this pretty much is the equal to it for the state of Montana. When you were there, do you find that the spirits are quite communicative, or because there is a mixture of Caucasian and Native Indian men both killed and wounded there, do you find that maybe they don't talk as much because there was such tension during that battle?
I do believe that they are trying to make themselves known, but I've never had, evidence that I've caught there. But, like I said, my member had a real personal experience with that gravestone. And, every time we go back there, we always pay respect to that gravestone, just so you know. So our group, I'm just going to explain a little backtracking. Around Memorial Day, our group invites other non-members and members to go place pennies on veterans' graves. And it's supposed to mean, I guess quarters mean family, dimes and nickels mean they're friends or something like that. There's something with it. But pennies, anyone can put a penny down. It's just you're just paying respect. So we decided to bring change with us this time, and we placed pennies, and my honorary member, Brandy, she does a lot of she makes her cleansing kits a lot, and she decided to do a smudging at least around that grave. And every time we go there now, we're all we need to pay respect to a couple of these gravestones, at least to say, hey, we're here to respect you. But at the same time, we're trying to catch evidence, but I try to teach my members that this is also a time to respect the spirits. This is not a time to catch the ghost. Yes, you might have an experience, but at the same time, it's a way I feel like the group is being cleansed in their own way. So, and I feel like, there's so many. Every time I walk in there, I feel so overwhelmed. A feeling like you're getting crowded. I feel that way when I'm in there. That's just too much emotion that I have to step out to get into the other room kind of feeling. I feel like there's too many spirits trying to say hello to me in a voice recorder than I can, catch. So, yeah.
What's probably the best EVP or any type of investigation evidence that you got from there?
From Little Bighorn? Well, in general, the best EVP session wasn't from Little Bighorn. It was in a homeowner, and we caught two entities talking to each other, and that's pretty big. That's usually pretty big, but I haven't really caught any. I haven't listened to the most recent one that we went to, so who knows? But it just feels like, they're trying to say something to me on a recorder is what I'm getting at. But, I'm not getting the answers I want. But at the same time, it's you're just trying to push everything away, saying one at a time, so then we can catch you on the voice recorder, So, because, we have caught, some pictures that we possibly think that that there could be something on there, and like weird anomalies that we can't say that are any like dust or anything, and we also interview like the rangers and stuff, and we also do the thermal thing and stuff like that. So we try, but I haven't really caught 100% evidence there. But it's an amazing place.
Spear in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker would like to know if you've ever investigated Wounded Knee.
No, where's Wounded Knee? No, I haven't. I've only been to Little Bighorn. There is other battlefields in Montana. There's like Big Hole, which I think is going into Wyoming. And that one's actually not a battle. It's a massacre. So they killed women and children there. But I've never been to Wounded Knee. I've heard about Wounded Knee, and I'm all like, is Wounded Knee in Montana? So, but no, I haven't been to Wounded Knee. Now I kind of want to go. So.
That's in South Dakota.
Oh, thank you for letting me know, apparently.
I was quick on the Google
there.
As a Canadian, you don't really
And I'm in Montana, so I don't look at other, I like to go to other places and, around our area, but I was like, wait, it's Wounded Knee in Montana. So.
Eric has a question in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. He is asking, is there a lot of palpable hatred still left over from the battle on the land?
Yes, there is. I feel like, Grave I was talking about, that spirit was very angry. One, I feel like it's a lot of anger because people, they know that they're dead. And I just feel like it's a lot of anger, towards, they're dead, and why do they listen to this guy kind of feeling. Feeling just anger, just why did I do this kind of feeling. It's not all the time, more it's sadness, but it's, you feel it. You feel a lot of anger. It's a lot of anger, respecting feeling, and very much sadness. So, and frustration is a good one too. They feel very frustrated.
Spear is asking, have you ever heard of stories where the ghosts there tend to reenact on the battle's anniversary?
We went there at the anniversary last year, and wow, that was when the natives started doing their singing and stuff like that, that made the activity more intense. I think what they're trying to do is cleanse when they're doing that, they're trying to cleanse the spirit realm, and it's just making it worse. But, you can't do anything about it, but it's more intense around the reenactment time and the day of the battle, which we were there, and it's just more intense. We even ran into somebody there that had an experience that used to do reenactment, and every year he comes back and places the amount of change that he of the year that he went and reenacted. But I guess when he reenacted the reenactment, he had an experience of one of the soldiers there, and every time he was drawn to this guy's grave and saw him there, and every year he comes back and pays his respects, which we thought was awesome, because that's part of what, we do. So, and, so I feel like, the reenactment time is definitely more intense.
Is that when you like to get out there and try and get that investigation done as close to the battle dates? Because that would almost make sense when, in the middle of June, that's when the battle happened.
Mm-hmm. It's like our first year we went, we didn't go around to reenactment time because, like we had a lot going on at that time anyways. But this last year when we went, it was reenactment time. And it definitely, I feel like the anniversary of time. And, when we interviewed those Rangers, they had the most experiences was around reenactment time. So, and to me, I feel like, that's the time that they're just wanting to let themselves know more, I guess. So, I feel like, at that time the battle is replaying itself. It's kind of what it's doing, and it's not, it was more intense for me this time around than it was the first time I went there. So, because we were at reenactment time. And it was just, I can't even explain it. It's like the battle was replaying itself. It was pretty bad. So.
So you think it's almost like ghost PTSD, as Spear puts it in the Spaced Out Radio chat room?
Yep, pretty much. I can't even, that's pretty much saying that it is. It's like ghost PTSD. So, and which I wish it wasn't like that because it's pretty, sad, but yeah, pretty much that's how it is.
That's just amazing that in a battle that big that there aren't a lot of spirits yet who are talking about it. Do you find, though, that the spirits are, even though they're more active in preparing for the battle on the anniversary of it every year, have you been there at other times of the year where you find they're more communicative?
Well, we went around August, and that was pretty intense because that's when that member has, had that experience with the spirit that was still at where he fell. So yeah, different. I feel like this summer, honestly, I would love to go there because we've gone there mostly during the summer, but I would love to go there when it's fall time. Because it's open until 8. So you have to think, I wonder what it would be like when it starts, actually, because it gets dark here around, 6. So I wonder what it would be like if it was dark outside for once. Because I believe, spirits come around any time of the day. But, you never know what's going to be like in the dark. You don't know. I like to experiment, so that's kind of how I see it. I would love to come during different times of the year other than summer, but so far June was a big time and August when we went. So summertime seems to be a big hot spot time.
How do they feel about you being there? Because that was a battle where there wasn't many, if any, females there at that time. Now, you're a female person who's an empath, who is someone who is investigating the spiritual side of it. Do you think the men clam up when you're around, or do you find that the male spirits actually open up a little bit more?
I never had a problem with it. Like, you have to also think tourists, like, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only empath, lady that's been there that's also, interested in the spirit realm. But also, I've never had a, different feeling, they're not shy or clam up. I'm pretty sure half of these men had wives and kids and, I never felt that way. And I feel like, usually natives were pretty, respectful towards women back then. So at least that's what I think. But anyways, yeah. I never felt any different.
No, and I'm not saying that you maybe felt different or not, but I do know that in other battlefields and people who have been, dealing with the dead from 100+ years ago during the battles, and sometimes they haven't appreciated women being around because they felt it was just too dangerous of an area for a woman to be. And back then, the battle of the sexes was non-existent. And political correctness on, women being able to do anything they want, like in today's society, as the way it should be. Back then it was a heck of a lot different, where the woman's place was in the household, taking care of the family.
Yeah, that is true, but I never felt like, like this is a dangerous spot, why are you here kind of feeling. But I have had that feeling, like, at other places before, like, my favorite one to talk about, which we never had experiences at, but my favorite one to say that, like the women thing not being there, I did take all women investigators to the Masonic Lodge 6, where the women, because there is like a woman, Masonic Lodge, but that one was never had women in it. So my thought was, oh, well, if we bring all these women into this investigation, it might, stir up something. And I don't really like doing that, but at the same time, it's like, how, you don't know what's going to happen. But to me, when I was at the, Little Bighorn, I never felt that way. And I had I wasn't the only, woman there. I had other women there, and they never, felt that way, or else they would have told me. So, or if they didn't, or not tell me at all, but you don't know. Like, I've never really felt like, the soldiers were like, oh, why is she here? Because it's dangerous kind of feeling.
So what haven't you investigated in Montana that you would like to try and get into?
Well, some places in Billings would be nice. Anywhere, honestly, I would love to get into, like, the Ellen Theater in Bozeman. I would love to get into more places in Bozeman. In general, I really want to go up to this fort called Fort Peck and do investigation there. That's up by Glacier National Park. And then, I just want to get more investigations all over the place. I'd love to get more investigations over by Missoula, but Fort Peck has been on my list for a while, and that's over by Glacier, so that would be a long drive, but it's always been on my list because I've heard it's really haunted. But on my top list right now is anywhere in Bozeman that we haven't done. So.
And how do you expand as a group here? Because you can sit there and do the same thing over and over again. And yes, there's enough haunted and paranormal places out there that you probably have more than the group will ever be around to investigate, especially the way you've made Montana sounded. It almost seems like a haunted Disneyland type place. Wherever you turn you go, there's a new place that's haunted. And I think that's exciting because, like we said in the first few minutes of this show, it reminds me of home up here in British Columbia. But is there anything new that you would like to do, or any direction you would like to take Bozeman Paranormal in order to expand its grounds?
I always wanted to go into Idaho and do some other surrounding states. That would be kind of cool too. And, really, like you said, it's it's really not that, honestly, it's not that hard to get into places sometimes. It's really playing the 50-50 chance kind of thing, but I would just love to get more places in Bozeman. But I also want to I want to expand and do other states. So, and I would even like to expand my group, a little bit and be able to do other states that are haunted. So, because I feel like, it is a big, paranormal isn't just by one state. There's a lot of other states that have more activity too. But I do see as Montana being kind of the Disneyland thing too, because we have so many ghost towns. But yeah, that's kind of what I would like to see Bozeman Paranormal to go. Is being able to travel, because we are a traveling group. We don't just stay in one area. So.
Well, it does seem like very much exciting times. We only have about 6 minutes left with you here, and man, this show has flown by tonight. As someone who is empathic, how have you, or what is your opinion with a lot of paranormal groups today who are saying that people who have any sort of ESP or psychic ability should not be a part of a paranormal investigation because you have the ability to taint the evidence that could be found by the digital equipment that is used?
Well, I also don't think, as empath being in the psychic world, because a lot of people are. So, and I don't see it, tampering with equipment and stuff, because when you're walking into a building, and I might be feeling everyone else's feelings around me, and I don't even know it's a spirit. So sometimes I can feel spirit, sometimes I can't. So it's kind of, sometimes it's real overwhelming, but I don't see it my, ability tampering with evidence. I can kind of see how a psychic, which I'm skeptic about, and also a medium being able to tamper because they could see things. So, but I don't know. I always open my eyes to seeing if inviting other people that can see and hear, because maybe it will help us find evidence. So that's just how I see it.
I'm just curious about that because there's such a debate around whether or not anybody with any sort of intuition should be around. Now, personally, I think it's an absolute great tool that every group should probably invest in. Now, I don't agree with, say, someone who is completely psychic, and there for their reading abilities and using their own skills. I don't think they should be carrying around an Ovilus or a K2 meter or something along those lines, because I don't know, that seems like it's almost like cheating, but on the flip side, you have those people out there who, are pretending to be scientists who believe that we shouldn't be using that type of person inside a paranormal investigation, because they're always afraid that there is going to be some sort of tampering.
Yeah, I believe that too. But at the same time, it's you can be open to letting other people, use what they have as a tool. Maybe not, as you can tell, like you said, handing them a K2 meter would be cheating. But maybe, handing them a camera instead, so that if they're seeing a spirit standing right there, maybe they should take a picture so then we can possibly catch it. So,
So do you currently have, besides you being an empath, do you have a psychic on your team?
No, we don't. Because, yeah, I'm open to listening to what a psychic has to say. I'm also skeptic of psychics. So, and I'm also skeptic of mediums. So I'm not, 100%, convinced on what their powers are. But I'm also like, okay, you can show me what you have, but I do not have one. I would like to have somebody join the group that is psychic, and if you can prove me wrong, there you go. So.
Well, you know what? A good psychic, though, is hard to find. And that's something that you just, can't accept anybody's word for, oh, I'm psychic. I see dead people. You just can't trust anybody's word for it. You have to be careful. You have to make sure that the person is accurate and most definitely trustworthy on that end.
Yep, that's pretty much true. I mean, and I can't, I don't see, and I don't believe people sometimes like that they'll tell me, oh, I'm psychic, and I'm like, well, you have to prove it to me first. Like, I don't, if somebody proves it to me one of these days, I'll be surprised. So.
There always has to be a healthy dose of skepticism in absolutely everything. So what's coming up next for Bozeman Paranormal as you guys go through the hauntings of Montana? Because winter's getting pretty close here, and the snow is going to start falling here probably within the next month and a half, 2 months. So you got to be preparing to probably shut it down for the year. Do you shut it down for the winter?
Actually, we just do stuff around here, like in Bozeman. Like if we have homeowners and stuff call, or we have a cleansing, but we don't do any traveling. We only do traveling when the snow stops falling, which it starts. There is some snowfall today, but we go on from like late spring onto mid-fall, and then we're done. So, and then unless like during the winter we get phone calls from homeowners or businesses, or we try to set up a business that we want to check out. So.
We only have a couple of minutes left here with you. I would love it if you don't mind to tell people how they can get in touch with you and the purpose of being a good paranormal investigator.
Well, you guys can contact us. We have a Facebook page, Bozeman Paranormal. We post all of the events that are coming up there, so come and check it out so you guys can come and get involved. Our purpose to become a real professional paranormal group is to just, listen to what you think is a good paranormal group. We think, spreading the awareness is a great way. Also, going to respect the dead or do some historical research. Make events for everyone to go to. Because, just because you have group members doesn't mean you can have people understand what you're doing. But we also have a webpage, bozemanparanormal.org, and we post any events on there too. And you can also contact me by my phone number, which is on the Facebook page, if you have any paranormal questions. But yeah, hopefully
Awesome.
you guys, yeah.
You did very well tonight. Elies Adams from Bozeman Paranormal, thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio. Great pleasure to talk some ghostly Montana paranormal situations. Appreciate it. You hold on. I'm going to clear out the show here because our man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, is rocking away on the guitar on the Spaced Out Radio side as he leads us out into the abyss of Spaced Out Radio land. Tomorrow night on the show, Samantha Mowat, the ET Experience, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. We're going to be rocking this back And, of course, don't forget, you can listen to any of our casts at spacedoutradio.com, on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, on TuneIn, and, of course, iTunes. We just joined that. I'm kind of excited about that one. So thank you all for joining up. We're going to be doing this again in exactly 21 hours from now. We hope you come along for the ride. We appreciate you taking the time. Have a good one, everyone, because tomorrow night it's going to be pretty kick-ass as well. Thank you so much to everyone participating in the Revolution Radio chat room, the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, and, of course, all you beautiful SOR space travelers. You keep going. And Claudia, I need some questions tomorrow night. You were awfully silent tonight. Awfully silent. I am shaking my finger at you right now. You have a good one. We'll talk to you tomorrow night.